Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on our essays for Shiloh, or you're going to be working on your realistic fiction essay. And today we're going to do paragraph 4 about the plot. And so you can see on my screen that I have paragraph 4 showing. Um, I'm going to type using the information that was from the organizer, the book report organizer. Remember, the plot diagram that we filled in started out with the introduction, or something called the exposition, and then it all the rising action of the events of the rising action, which leads to the climax, and then the falling action events, which then leads to the solution or the resolution that you see here in the bottom. So I'm using the book Shiloh by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor that we read as a class at the beginning of the year. And what I did was I took some of the events and I put them into the plot diagram so that I could type that paragraph into our paper, our essay. So what I did was I started out with a sentence that says, "The book Shiloh by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor follows a typical plot diagram formula." Feel free to make sure that you are, I'm going to underline the title because book titles are underlined. Okay. And then I'm going to be, and make sure that your title has capital letters and your author is capitalized correctly, and that you have correct punctuation at the end of each sentence. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is type the actual paragraph. Feel free to hit pause as you type yours. And remember that you are typing yours in to go along with your story, your realistic fiction book, novel that you read. Okay, so I'm starting out with my first sentence. Everybody should have that same, very similar sentence using your title and your author, of course. My next sentence: to begin the story. Remember, sometimes I make mistakes as I'm typing, but I go back and I fix those as I reread my paragraph every single time and check for spelling. I check for missing words as after I'm done typing, usually. Marty is a boy who lives in Friendly. To begin the story, Marty is a boy who lives in Friendly and is walking along the river. This is the exposition. You'll want to state that. I will be highlighting the phrases that I want everyone to use at the end, but this is definitely one of them that I want you to use. This is the exposition. Next, the rising action builds upon the events of the story to show the problem. Marty finds Shiloh a dog he assumes is abused. He takes Shiloh home, but his parents make him return the dog. To Judd, make sure that you're using capital letters. To Judd Travers, the dog's abusive owner. Judd is then mean to Shiloh, and at that moment, Marty knows he must save Shiloh. Marty eventually steals Shiloh and hides him on the hill from everyone. This is found out when Shiloh is attacked by the baker's dog. And Marty must confess that he stole Shiloh. Marty helps to nurse Shiloh back to health. And his whole family falls in love with Shiloh. At this point, Marty is willing to do anything to save Shiloh from Judd and keep him as a family pet. The next scene is the climax to the story. Marty confronts Judd and convinces him to allow him to buy Shiloh. Judd eventually agrees because Marty saw him illegally hunting. During the following action, Marty works off his debt with Judd every day after school to earn Shiloh. Eventually, during the resolution, Marty works off his debt, and Shiloh is part of the family. The last scene demonstrates just that, comma, Marty playing outside with Shiloh and his whole family. And that's the end. But I do not stop here. This is where I have to go back and reread to make sure I haven't missed words. I can see a lot of red squiggly lines, and that's because I have something called Grammarly at the top. You can see the Grammarly account. Okay, and so because of Grammarly, I can see that I have many words, and if I just hover over them, if you don't have Grammarly, it's a great thing to have, because all I do is hover and it just picks up all kinds of mistakes. Okay, this one I need to fix myself. Let's see, Marty must confess that he stole. It's supposed to be he stole Shiloh. Okay, these are just capitalizing mistakes. There's another one that needs to be capitalized because Shiloh is a capital. At this point, Marty will, now we don't want to do the will or all will, so I'm going to click dismiss. At this point, the next scene, okay, I'm going to go through and reread the whole thing, okay? And you're going to do the same thing with yours. You're going to reread it. I'm going to highlight the sentences that I need all of you to add or make sure that you have in your paper as well. Okay. I'll give these all here. Allow him. Okay. The book Shiloh by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor follows a typical plot diagram formula. To begin the story, Marty is a boy who lives in Friendly. Notice I capitalized the name of the town, and is walking along the river. This is the exposition. Next, notice I have a comma, okay? And I'm going to highlight that part. This is the exposition. You all need to make sure that you have that phrase in there. Next, the rising action builds upon the events of the story to show the problem. You are also going to need that same sentence. And your problem is obviously going to be different than mine. Marty finds Shiloh, a dog he assumes is abused. He takes Shiloh home, but his parents make him return the dog to Judd Travers, the dog's abusive owner. Judd is then mean to Shiloh, and at that moment, Marty, it should be an Marty, this is what you find when you are checking your work. Marty knows he must save Shiloh. Marty eventually steals Shiloh and hides him on the hill from everyone. This is found out when Shiloh is attacked attacked by the baker's dog, and Marty must confess that he stole Shiloh. Marty helps to nurse Shiloh back to health, and his whole family falls in love with Shiloh. At this point, Marty is willing, so there's another thing, is willing to do anything to save Shiloh from Judd and keep him as a family pet. The next scene is the climax of the story. Everyone needs to have that phrase. I have Mary, should say Marty. Marty confronts Judd and convinces him to allow him to buy Shiloh. Judd eventually agrees because Marty saw him illegally hunting. During the falling action, this is a phrase that I need all of you to have. Obviously, you're not going to mention Marty in yours, so I'm not going to highlight that part. Marty works off his debt with Judd every day after school to earn Shiloh. Eventually, during the resolution, notice I have a lot of commas because I'm pausing there. And that is setting off that phrase. I'm kind of setting it off. Eventually, during the resolution, Marty works off his debt and Shiloh is part of the family. The last scene demonstrates just that. Marty, Marty playing outside with Shiloh and his whole family. And so this is pretty much, I have quite a few sentences. To begin the story, I'm going to highlight that as well. And there's a comma because that is not a sentence by itself. I don't want a period there. Marty is a boy who lives in, so you're going to talk about your character and where they're from, and is walking along the river. So here's where we are. I went through the whole thing. I highlighted several phrases that I would like you to add into your, or integrate into your plot diagram, your plot paragraph 4 in our essay. And tomorrow we will be working on that last part. If not tomorrow, then definitely by Monday. So today, make sure that you have used your plot diagram, which remember you found that on Monday, December 14th, I believe. And you're using slide 3 to help. That's all of the events. And I just basically put that into a paragraph. Okay, thank you. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you Monday.